From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas, Hank's Think Tank is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cam's rolling.
And 3, 2.
Welcome out, everybody. How you doing today? Good to see this crowd. I'm glad everybody's here. If you would all please rise and join us. We're going to have Liz Mullane open with prayer.
Will you bow your head, please? Heavenly Father, thank you for all the people who are gathered here today in this room in order to try and discern what is good and right for our city. Thank you that we have government representatives who believe in your truth. Remind them to see your guidance as they make decisions that affect our local government and our country. And give the election candidates the strength to choose integrity in both their campaigns and their terms in office. Forgive us for the times we've entered a conversation without really listening. Show us how to listen with humble and open hearts. Give our leaders the give our prospective leaders the strength to be humble, soft-hearted, and willing to listen to every voice. Thank you for creating in each of us unique gifts and for gifting some with leadership abilities. For everyone running for office, whether they win or lose, refresh their spirits and encourage them. Help our leaders to be willing to walk alongside each other and their constituents and give them the wisdom to navigate differences and to work together to strengthen our city. Father, we raise Israel and Gaza to you and pray for those who are suffering. We ask that you provide peace in this crisis and protection and comfort for all those who have been impacted. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Now, if you'll join Chief Stephen Carlisle in the pledges to our country and state.
I join me in the pledge allegiance to our country flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we'll honor our Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thanks. Everybody be seated. Again, welcome everybody. It's good to see a bunch of friendly faces out. First, I'd like to start by thanking the candidates. You know, it takes a lot to put yourself out there and run for office, no matter what kind of office it is. And it's a commendable thing to do because there's no monetary benefit for any of these guys. So it's a volunteer position, and it's something we all need to look up to and see the good in that. So candidates, I appreciate you for doing what you do. Okay, so what I've done, we have 3 different races. We have position 2, position 3, and a mayoral race. I went ahead and broke this down, and so what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into groups. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make their opening statement, where they can introduce themselves and talk about their individual platforms. After each candidate in a group has completed, we'll call for questions, and Steve Carlisle will provide the questions for that individual group, be it a candidate, be it just a position, or the whole group itself. Also, if you could all silence your phones, that'd be a great thing. And when it comes to the question section of this, if you do have a question, we really prefer that you write those down and turn them in to Chief Carlisle. That way it'll keep a bunch of crosstalk and things like that from going on. We want to try to keep as much order as possible. Again, thanks for coming out and just enjoy this thing. All right, first I'd like to have Dr. John Bartlett up. He is in Group 1, running for council position number 3. Dr. Bartlett, good afternoon, sir. Please proceed.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. John Bartlett. I'm running for the position 3 on the city council. My wife and I moved here in 2017, and so we've been living here since then. And as far as a platform goes, I think the 3 things that I think about and would like to at least start talking about is the roads. Okay, that's number 1. There's a lot of the roads that are pretty dilapidated. We have some that are new and they've been resurfaced, but there's a lot that are pretty rough. I know about where I live. If you come and meet a school bus head on, you've got to pull off into the grass. Okay, the roads just aren't wide enough for things like that. As far as experience, I was the president and also the vice president of what's called North Belt Utility District. And so that was a utility district around the Greens Point area. It used to be called North Belt. And so I did that for about 1 or 2 years when I lived over in that area. And so as far as how to do the roads and things like that, it's just an idea that I have. And I think that we have a lot of traffic that goes through Roman Forest that is not Roman Forest people, in other words. And I know that Roman Forest, our taxes pay for the roads. And I know there is some, I think, from the county that comes into it. But we need to figure out a way that we can, increase maybe the income to the city so that we can start doing, road repairs and road improvements and things like that. Another thing I was looking at, and I just look at it every day on my way to work, is the stretch from the bridge to where I call them the White Towers out there. Is that Roman Forest or is that somebody else's? It's not Roman Forest. Okay. So maybe then we could plan on doing something maybe where the bridge is. It's, like a welcome to Roman Forest type of thing. So these are just a few of the things that I've thought about along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bartlett. Next up, also running for council position 2 would be Jerry Reasoner. Come on up, Jerry. I'm sorry, position 3. Man, we almost got you voted into the wrong place. That would have been terrible.
You know what they say, we do whatever is needed, not a problem. I'm Jerry Reasoner. I'm running for Roman Forest City Council position 3. And I've been here since 2005, and I've started trying to help and do things with the city probably early on in 2006, 2007. Some of you heard me say before why I was the first chairman of the Special Events Committee, which got renamed the Events Committee. About that time frame, I took over and started helping with the parade, and I've been doing the parade now since, 2006, 2007. Last 2 years I've tried to hand that off, and maybe this next year that I'll get ready to do that. I've been involved with numerous things within the city wherever I could. The fat chubby guy out in front on Christmas, some of those years that fat chubby guy was me. So there's a lot of things we can do to help our city besides being on council. That's a great job, and I look forward to that. But as a volunteer, I encourage everybody to be involved either with the events committee or whatever you can do to help the city. That's a city with just government employees doesn't go much anyplace. It takes the people. Some of the things I'd like to see looked at, some of the things I've had people talk to me about are the ditches. Different opinions on who should take care of what parts of the ditches. And there's the other issues. We have some roads where if you get out of your car, you can't park permanently on the grass. And that's a good thing, because if you stepped out of your car, you'd probably fall 4 feet. And I think that something needs to be done about those particular areas. I'm into my 80s, and that's all I'm going to say. But there's other people who are my age or younger who are either handicapped or just physically unable to take care of the ditches and such. And I think we need a program targeted towards seniors and handicapped that will help keep the ditches straight and those things that they need, whatever work they need. I think we need to look at something like that. I've had people talk to me about the permit. There was one system, one lady was almost verbally upset that they had to have a permit for their hot water heater. And there's, based upon how that goes, I know that the city is working on looking at the permitting. Had a workshop not too long ago. I don't know the results of that. So I'm not going to rain on the city's parade trying to do things by saying I'm going to do this or do that. I'd like to see what they come up with and how that goes. The other thing that we're going to find is the new areas out and back. I hope that the drainage is such that we don't have any flood problems, but I think that needs to be looked at fairly close. I do know that if you change a natural waterway, you have to get permission of the Corps of Engineers. My brother used to work for the Department of the Interior in New Mexico, and I've talked to him some about those things. So we may want to look at some of these areas we've had flooding with and see if there's something the Corps of Engineers can help us with. I don't know. That's something that needs to be looked at. I'm going to ask that if you haven't decided who to vote for me. That's we're here to say vote for us. I will say that I appreciate everybody that's running for all the positions, even my competitors. I've had the privilege of meeting one, but not the other, and I'm glad they're running. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, and our final candidate running for position 3, Larry Sanders. Larry, come on up.
My name is Larry Sanders. My wife and I moved here about 3 years ago. Qualifications, I've been deed restriction persons in different subdivisions I've lived in. I'm retired military with 27 years in. So as a master sergeant, you understand how to take orders and to give orders and when to keep your mouth shut sometimes. I've got an associate's degree in architecture, and I currently work for an engineering company out of Mount Bellevue. But with my background in architecture, I know how these houses are being built, what we need to have in different permitting. And one of the things I have been pushing for, I'd like to see it going even further, is our permitting out here. Because I hear so many complaints on people and their permitting fees. Because we need to get that all in a line. Another thing I'd like to do, I like to get a marquee up, electronic marquee up in the front of the subdivision, so we can, as we come in, we can see what's going on. People can rent that to put their message on garage sales or birthdays or whatever, and the city can bring some revenue in to help pay for that. The thing with the drainage, yes, we do have a problem with drainage. The new section down here, there was no true means or ways they even knew how to read an elevation to keep invert elevations going in, which the builder should have done it correctly, which he didn't. So are we going to be responsible? Are we going to get the county to come and help? Or are we going to get the developer back in to do it? I'm for trying to get some of that stuff done. And like I said, I've been up to almost every one of the council meetings. I've been pushing out permitting stuff. I think I've been pushing so much the mayor don't even like to see me step up the podium anymore, you know. So, but anyway, I'm Larry Sanders. I live here too with y'all, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, Chief Carlisle, is there any questions for specific candidates for position 2?
There is one question for one specific mayor.
That's for the mayor, right? Okay, but that's not for, right.
That's the only specific question.
Okay. Are there any general questions for position 3?
There are general questions for all council positions.
Okay, let's come up with those then. What you got?
You want to ask just?
Yep. General questions. So folks, we have some general questions for all candidates, so I'm going to allow him to ask those. Any candidate that wishes to answer that question, just come up to the podium.
I'm sorry, you're going to let the other
We have 2 other candidates for position 2.
Right. After we do this question set, then we're going to have those come up, then we're going to do another question set, and then the main oral.
You got a plan?
Yeah, got a plan.
So all of them will be able to answer.
Yep, everybody will be able to answer.
I should have known.
All right.
It's okay.
right, so I gotta make sure I can read everybody's handwriting, but
why
I think I got it.
That's
All right, so the first question is to all candidates. It doesn't specify city council. Actually, there are some that specify city council. Would you want me to do specifically council first?
Yeah.
And then all?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, this one's asked specifically to city council. Are you in favor of additional annexation of Galaxy, Country Club, or Kings Colony areas?
Would anyone like to tackle that question? Larry Sanders.
You know, the only one I think would want to be in annexed would be the Tavola, because of we're already in there with the police force. And so if they want to come in and help with our finances and everything, I think that's great. But King Colony, I think would be a lost cause for us to even try to annex them. And the others, what was the other?
Country Club.
And the Country Club, I don't think we should even get involved with them either. So I think if we're going to do anything, it would be to Tavola. Other than that, my mindset is not for Kings Colony at all.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Anyone else on that same question? Jerry Reasoner.
To annex for any city to annex anybody that's not part of them, you have to be in their that city's ETJ. The first thing we need to determine is the areas. Pardon me?
Project.
Oh. Project. Okay, I'll do this. Yeah, my microphone is gone. So anyway, you have to be within that city's ETJ. One of the things that they did battle with Kingwood years ago in Houston. Kingwood was in Houston's ETJ, and they took them. I do not know about Galaxy. I'd have to look at Galaxy, how far that goes out. So the first thing, you can only annex areas that are within your ETJ. The second is that there's also rules that tell you within that ETJ, the state has some new guidelines about the number of people who has to vote. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to go take this area. The people within that area have to say they want to be taken. And I'm going to leave it with that.
Very good, thanks, sir. Sergeant Bartlett.
I'm in agreement with my competitors as far as Kings Colony and the Galaxy. In fact, I think I read something just the other day where the state of Texas is getting ready to go into Kings Colony.
That's Colony Ridge.
It's Colony Ridge?
Colony Ridge.
Okay, all right, excuse me, sorry for that. And yeah, I think that still would be a mistake. Tavola, possibility, I don't know. You know, they're already set up with HOAs, things like that, so I'm not sure what the legal ramifications of that would be, but if, like he said, you know, the police force is already in there, we're already getting paid for that, so I think that might be something that could be looked at in the future.
Thanks, sir. All right, Chief, next question.
I do have a specific question for Larry Sanders.
Okay.
So the question is, it's not a complete question, but I'll try to reword it. Putting a digital marquee, what about traffic? And I interpret that as
We have
a digital doesn't affect traffic.
Okay, we have a marquee already in front, an all-electronic one. If we come to First Street, Cross Street, I believe that's, what's that? Chariot. Then we can put a marquee up about 4 foot, 3-4 foot up in the air, out of the floodplain. And with us being out of the floodplain, we can tell people what's going on in the city without, you know, it's so hard unless you go to the Roman Forest Clan to find out what's going on in here sometimes. So we need to tell the city something, or maybe some of the police department be telling us about crime. We can all broadcast that right up front, right when you're coming in. And no, there's a light pole there, there's trees there. So blocking traffic, we're not going to be blocking traffic. We'll be back a little bit further. I think the marquee will be safe. That's my thought.
Thanks, sir. Since it's specific to him, is he the only one to answer that? All right, another one specific to city council. What would you do to improve the quality of life for residents without raising taxes? You need to say it again? Nobody's going to. Okay. I'll leave the question in front of you.
Now, this is an idea. All right, I don't know whether it's a legally possible thing or anything like that, but this is my idea nonetheless. With the thought of all of the heavy equipment that's been having to drive through Roman Forest, we live back there where the D.R. Horton homes were built. And I know that the heavy equipment that they had to bring in there, it tore up our street pretty good. Now, they redid their streets and everything, but none of the others in the neighborhood that were affected, which I thought was kind of, anyway. But as far as a way to bring money into Roman Forest and not have to raise taxes, and if we want to repair roads, if we want to repair ditches, any of that kind of stuff, we have to think about some way that we can do that. And my thought is some type of a toll road mechanism. And they make these, the technology is incredible now. I mean, they're very small. The wireless technology is incredible. They even have sensors that can count the number of axles on vehicles as they come through. So then we wouldn't be having to maybe, sell permits as much, that we can take care of it while it's out there. If we have a picture of the license plate and we know how many axles, et cetera, there we go. Those of us that do live here in Roman Forest and are residents, it'd be just like when you're in Houston, you have a little thing on your window or something like that transmits, and those of us that live here, we wouldn't get charged anymore. But anybody that's not a resident of Roman Forest then would have some type of a monthly bill or per travel charge or whatever it may be. But anyway, that's my idea. Now, whether or not it can be brought to fruition or not, I don't know. Just an idea.
Thanks, sir. All right, let's move forward. Or do we have one more? Jerry, you have it? Come on, Jerry.
The best way to have a better quality of life within Roman Forest is be involved with what's going on within the city. And Anna over here is in charge of the Roman Forest Events Committee, and I'm going to put her on the spot because she does a good job, did a great job in the parade last year. So become involved with the community. As far as paying without taxes, I'll defer that to our mayor, because he has done a lot over the last few years to decrease the amount of tax that each one of us is paying on our homes. The other issue is with the building of new homes. If you have a quality city, a place where people want to come, you'll have more people go into it. That way, their tax base adds to your revenue within the city. So that is on the path now, because we still have people moving into there. We still have our taxes going down on a per lot basis. So again, become involved. I'll put you on the spot. Volunteer.
Fallon? It's been so long since I asked it, but the question's right there.
Hi, my name is Fallon Bulla. I know I haven't formally introduced myself, but I am running for City Council Member number 2. So I'll go into more detail when you're ready for me to do that.
Okay.
When I think about maintaining the current tax rate that we have and hoping that it doesn't increase, I think about budgeting for what we already bring in as a city. And to my understanding, the people that we have working with us seem to be very diligent and passionate about making sure that we're getting the best use of those funds. And I kind of have to bring it to my HOA background. When I served on the board for about 5 years, we had to look at the budget, the money that was coming in for our community, and anything that the residents or the community was voicing that, we want to do this, we'd like to have that, why can't we have this or that? We looked at that budget and said, okay, let's start tackling some of these projects year by year, bit by bit. So in my previous community, one of the main things was to have something for the kids, like a splash pad. So we allocated money for that. And once that was completed and kept bringing in more money through HOA fees, and this would be similar to the money that we received from taxes, then we started focusing on other projects. And I say all that to say that is a good way to not increase funds, but to maintain what you have. Is kind of like in our own personal lives. If you have your money that's coming in, you budget your expenses, and you try to do that responsibly. And then when you have goals, I want to move into this new house, I want a new car, you start, as a responsible adult, you save towards that, and you have a goal in mind. Outside of that, when you do have an investment you want to raise money for, then you're protected. So if there's something that we're wanting to do as a city or as a community that's going to cost more than we're bringing in, then that's when we have these city council meetings to talk about that, talk about tax rate increases, if that's what we want to do it collectively. So those are things to keep in mind. That would be my idea, my approach. Thank you.
All right, this is another one for city council. I got two more specifically for city council. So
Go for broke.
all right. Okay. What are your thoughts on the value and purpose of permits and inspections?
Value and purpose of permits and inspections.
Value and purpose of permits and inspections.
Dr. Bartlett?
Never in my life would I have thought that my previous experience working construction would ever have anything to do with what I was talking about at any time in my future. So as far as permits and things like that, I think that we need to give some of the autonomy back to the homeowners. Okay, as far as I don't understand why someone would pay for a permit to cut down a tree on a piece of property that you own. Okay, some of the things that that are permitted and that they are requiring us to get permits for, to me, don't make any sense. I understand the big things like plumbing and electrical and foundations. Yes, those are safety issues and things like that. But I think it's also possible, as opposed to having our own, person, employee, to do all the inspections, to just, recruit or hire a home inspector, an electrical inspector, a plumbing inspector, just to go in and do those individual inspections when they're needed. I don't know, I think maybe it might cost a little bit less money over the long term, but I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Larry Sanders?
As I've been at these meetings for the last couple of years, I've been talking about home inspections, not home inspections, but permitting fees. Some of the fees, I feel like don't even need to be there. But some of the things about permitting, if you understand that how to build a concrete slab is one thing, but how many people here know how to do that, okay? And if you have that type of inspection, that protects us. I mean, I feel that permit fees are too high for us. I think we can reduce those. I know Chris has worked in permitting for many years out here, and I know she's heard from me and probably 1,000 of us others out about permitting fees. But some of the fees, I think, are required due to the fact of an electrician, a plumber. These people are professionals that are lined up and they're qualified to do the job. And they're for our safety. I mean, yeah, I can hook up an electrical switch but it's for our safety, not just to make money for the city. We're being looked at for both ways. It has to happen. But yes, permit fees need to be reduced on a number of things. And I think when we get a permit, the people that would get the permit that comes out and inspect us, some of them don't even look at the job. And I think we need to address that, because if we're paying for it, they need to inspect it. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. And now we have
Good evening. Appreciate you being here. I'm Chris Ellis, runner for candidate position 2. My idea is on the permits and the value of it is, I mean, I have the same views as some of the previous spoken. The permits, I think, need to be looked at, and the prices, I think they're a little expensive, you know, on some of it. There's been some good points. The goal is to make sure, you know, you acquire or you hire a master electrician or you hire a master plumber. Those are, you know, good trades, and you want to have valuable people there. Some of the other ones, fences, water heater, roofing permit, some I just don't value. You know, like I don't know if you're getting the bang for your buck there. So I think we need to evaluate that and, you know, bring it to vote and see where we need to go there. And then obviously the voices of the residents to get that. And I think speaking up as residents and voicing our concerns is probably how you get that done versus, you know, one or two people. I would like to see it more easier to make it like residents to pull permits either online or just make it easier to acquire permits. One of the things I would like to address as a candidate is that, and I think probably it would be maybe more revenue for the city if we make it easier for residents to pull permits or not make it so many requirements to pull a certain permit. And I think that's how we address that, and I think that would be how you could probably move forward and make it easier for everybody here. So great, thank you.
One more.
One final question for City Council. We're going to move the rest of the
All right, last question for City Council specific. When should code enforcement issue warnings and when should they issue fines? Balancing homeowner rights and compliance with ordinances. So I'll leave the question here for you to review. It's a code enforcement question.
Technically. So code enforcement.
Mayor Park, go ahead.
So, I'm sorry, I'm Mayor Park. So code enforcement, so when should we write a warning? Well, first contact needs to be made when a violation is seen. First contact needs to be made by the code enforcement officer. I'm not talking about a letter mailed in the mail. I'm talking about he needs to go out and discuss the issue, the problem, the infraction with the resident. And we're going to do that as a neighbor to a neighbor. We're going to have that conversation with them. We're going to give them some time to get the problem corrected. And if it may turn into even maybe give them a little extra time, but there will come a point to where that will have to turn into a citation to get the problem corrected. That doesn't happen often, but I know that does happen. But that's not going to happen on the first time that problem is seen. So that's my thoughts on that. Balancing homeowner rights, compliance with ordinances. Yeah, so on code compliance, I mean, I know any of you guys that's come to the council meetings and you've listened to me. I don't want the city in our residents' backyard looking to see what's going on. I know that sometimes issues do arise where we do have to ask to be able to do that, but I want our code enforcement person and our department to respect the homeowners' rights for on their property. I don't see that happens a lot, but we are going to approach this as a neighbor to a neighbor. We're not going to do this cold with a letter. We're going to do this in person.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move forward now. We're going to go to the second race, which is position 2. And I'd like to have Fallon Balai come up, make your introduction, and you got 3 minutes.
Well, hello everybody, again, I'm Fallon Balai, and I'm running for City Council Member number 2. And my background comes from more of a HR corporate type experience. I've worked in oil and gas for over 10 years. And I, as I said previously, served 5 years on the HOA board, so I understand community as well as management. And what I bring is a passion to bridge the gaps where there are lacking in our community. I understand we have some seasoned residents, of course, there's been growth, and we have a lot of new people that have moved here. I've heard the voices of both sides. And so with that, I want to make sure that we have a unified voice. We share the same passion to, with this growth, be a part of the change, but structured change. So with that being said, I like the fact that Roman Forest feels kind of like a little storybook. You come in and like, oh, you've entered the forest. It's a small town feel, and I love that. That's what brought me here. And I want to help to preserve that as well. However, change is inevitable. So I'd like to be a part of what we are already working on as a city, alongside the mayor, and making sure that with these changes, it represents some of the problems that we've heard with resolutions. One thing that I like to push is that I don't like to be just someone who voices problems and don't provide resolutions. I'm literally, in my own personal life, a solutions-oriented person. So I like to see results. So I will be about finding those resolutions for the things that we've talked about, such as maintaining a lower tax rate as much as possible, seeing the budget being used for a lot of the projects and some of the concerns that we have voiced previously in the city council meetings, as well as the infrastructure that's been another. You don't want to have flooding in the neighborhood and all these different type of issues, and I know that we are currently working on that as a city. And so I want to be a part of looking at those solutions for that as best as possible, what's going to be cost efficient. And if it is currently out of the budget, like I said, let's see how we can allocate the funds and start working towards knocking these things out bit by bit. Being a resident myself, and like I said, with the experience have being on the HOA board, I like to make sure that I see people come out to these city council meetings, come out to the events that we put on, because this is the opportunity to get to know one another and become familiar and informed with what's going on. So, I want to encourage that, but that's my approach, that's my passion, those are my goals. So thank you.
Next up, we have Christopher Ellis.
Good afternoon. Again, thank you for being here. Chris Ellis. I'm running for position 2, City Council. Been a resident here since 2019. My background, we started construction, I'd say 2006, 2007, did several years, got into oil and gas, and now I'm fortunate enough to own a construction company of my own. We've been in business for 3 years. So my goal is with the city is to go over the permits and make it easier to streamline, right? That was some of the problems I had with is pulling permits or pulling additional permits on projects, and I would like to make it easier for residents and along with contractors. I mean, there's several, you gotta verify insurance, license, this, that, but I would like to just make it easier for the contractors, the permits, and maybe that will help provide additional revenue. I think just my person, I think maybe only 60% of residents are pulling permits here. I think a lot of residents probably don't pull permits. And I'm not looking, it's none of my business whether you pull a permit, that's your business. However, I think if we make it easier for residents to pull permits, I think you would probably see those numbers go up. Another thing is I would like to, look at the budget. I don't know what the budget looks like. I know we have a decent sized budget, and it would be nice if we could maybe do some updates to the park we have now, or I know we have some property donated to us behind City Hall, and maybe build a new park, and we have a lot more homes coming in. There's gonna be a lot more revenue coming in, and we could utilize that money to different, parks. I mean, obviously it's gonna be a vote. We need to look at look at what we need to do. Look at what, as I said earlier, we need to get with the residents. Hey, what are some of the things we would like to see without, draining the budget or hindering anything? We need to, come and, just speak to one each other and then come up with a plan and then try to tackle that plan. So I think that's where we need to go with that. And I have a few more cool ideas. I'm hoping to, if I win position 2, I would love to do that and share that at that time. And then hopefully make it better for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. So this brings us to our mayoral race. No? What do you have?
Do you want questions for the rest of the council first?
I didn't know you had, okay, I didn't know you had any. So are they specific?
This is for all council and mayor.
All council members, let's do it.
You want to?
Yep.
All right. So I got 4 questions not specific for the race, for both the mayor and council. And then I got a handful of questions for the mayor after they get their introductions. But I just seen 2 people in the audience that are not Roman Forest residents, but they are part of our community. So I just wanted to recognize our state representative, Ernest Bales. He just drove in from Austin fighting for our rights and everything we need to get done during this special session. And I talked to him while he was down there, and I really appreciate what you were doing for us.
Right on, Ernest.
And I don't know if anybody has introduced the Commissioner, Matt Gray. He's sitting here back here in the back. Believe it or not, he does do a lot for our city, and we really appreciate it. All right, not specific for mayor or council, and this one actually has mayor and council on the top of it, instead of all like the other 3. Apparently they want you to explain franchise fees. It's not a question, it's just saying, explain franchise fees.
Anybody want to pick up franchise fees? And I'm sure these are about like energy and Optimum, correct? Anybody want to talk about franchise fees? Hello? Class? Jerry Reasoner, folks. Talk a little bit about franchise fees.
I'll talk a little bit about franchise fees. But first off, franchise fees are like a milk cow, if you would. If you feed it, it produces milk. Franchise fees kind of like that in that if you have a company that wants to come in and operate within your city, if you let them into your city and let them support them, they then pay franchise fees based upon a number of different things. First might be the number of people they serve. Second might be the miles or hundreds of feet or whatever it happens to be of the area that they're putting facilities into. We had an issue of franchise fees back with Iguananet in a tower. They put in wireless internet, and we're going to pay a franchise or pay a fee, which is basically a franchise fee to the city. Unfortunately, they changed hands and forgot to pay that fee, and so the city therefore had to break the contract. So franchise fees are good in that you bring, it encourages the city to allow people to come into the area, but in turn, the city also gains benefit, financial benefit from that. I don't know how better to explain that for those who don't realize the value of franchise fees.
That's a great explanation. Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else on franchise fees?
Yeah,
Yes. Come on, Mayor.
So no, actually Jerry explained it very well. I think projected this year, I think our franchise fees will probably be somewhere around the $80,000 mark. I'm trying to remember the numbers. So yes, franchise fees do help with our income for our city, and that would be like CenterPoint Energy. Yeah, exactly. So I can't name all of them right now. So no, Jerry, you summed it up well. Yes, absolutely. Something I do like. It is a great income to our city. So yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Really all I have to say.
All right, let's roll to the next question.
All right, another question to all candidates, mayor and city council. Where do you see our city in 10 years?
Come on, that's a good question. I'm going to need some talk on this one. I want to hear some people tell me about where we see Roman Forest in 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that mayor council, right? So let's look 10 years. Let's look at Roman Forest 10 years from now. So not only do we have growth within the city limits of our city, but surely you've all noticed we got a lot of growth going on outside of our city. That growth is going to continue. That growth will probably even speed up at a rate that it's not even at this point. So where do I want to see the city in 10 years? Well, I'll tell you, I met with council and discussed with council, and mayor and council are working with Tim Underwood, and we're looking at a long-term plan. We're looking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, because this growth is going to bring new challenges. I don't know what all those challenges are going to be, but I'm going to tell you, we need to get a plan together now to put some changes in place, to make some changes, to be able to meet those challenges when they come. We don't want to be surprised by them. So where I want to see the city in the next 2 years is with a long-term plan in place and things happening to hit those milestones, okay? Where I want to see the city in 5 years is zoned to the point to where we can control, regulate what commercial businesses are coming into my city. I would also like to look ahead the next 5 years. I would really like to see about getting the city sales tax revenue back to our city that we currently do not collect in our city. I would like to increase the footprint of our city limits within the next 5 to 10 years. And that would be me taking this to council, looking at section 3, not King's Colony. So the main thing I want to see is a long-term plan, and I want to see us hitting milestones every year out to 5 years, to 7 years, to 10 years. Can I tell you what Roman Forest is going to look like in 10 years? I can't. I can tell you we're going to try to put things into place that we can regulate and shape the city into what's best for our residents.
Great. Anyone else for the future of Roman Forest? Fallon? Come on up here, girl.
I'd like to just add to what Mayor Parr spoke of, because I think that was phenomenal. And coming from a place or a community where it was pretty woodsy and wasn't a lot of people, it was desolate when I first moved there, and all of a sudden in 5 years it grew dramatically. Back roads turned into main roads. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there goes the city, if you will. But I think we want to definitely learn from any mistakes that were made. For example, if we do decide to have new developers come in and build any more sections, that whatever mistakes were made by allowing that to do is something that they were missed. Maybe we can make sure we hold developers accountable, making sure that everything is done correctly so that it won't mess up the infrastructure any further, or anything else that maybe we didn't think of. Outside of that, I like this small town feel, as I said earlier, so I want to see more families coming out to, just coming together, whether that be at our meetings, but at events, just keeping up with that feel and everyone kind of knowing each other and helping one another. And another thing that my husband and I have been very passionate about, because I know that we have a lot of seasoned residents that may not be able to get to certain projects like their backyard and cutting down trees and, just landscaping. If we could have a program where it was like a volunteer deal where we come out and we assist those who aren't able to do that. And just like, again, a neighbor helping a neighbor. Personally, I know that there's a neighbor that I have that's a single parent. She's working and doing a lot of things. And so my husband and I would love to cook. So I cook in batches, like a big amounts, and I'll take food over there just to help her out. So just kind of spreading that love and that genuine concern and consideration would be great, and just make it be contagious where it goes around, where again, when a neighbor has a concern, we want to be able to step in and help. And that comes with just kind of having that rapport relationship with those around you. I feel safe here. I love our police department for that. You know, everyone's been great, and just maintaining that, and just contributing more where we all can, because it takes more than just a mayor. It takes more than just the city council to accomplish these projects and making these decisions. We have to have the input of the community. So that's my take.
All right. What is the top priority for you in your role if you win?
This is to all council members?
All council and mayor.
Okay.
What is your top priority?
Top priority if elected. Anyone? Come on, Chris Ellis.
As I forgot to mention earlier, one of the things I would like to try to tackle, is a common goal, I think, of all of ours, is the drainage. I would like to evaluate the plan that we have in place. I know I've looked at it just a little bit. Recently put a culvert in, experience with the drain flow surveys, stuff like that, and just the topographical surveys as well. I know we have some backup. I would like to see what we can do to improve it. I know there are some plans in place to replace some culverts. Last city council meeting, I know we spoke about, there's some on Parthenon that we're looking at. There's probably a few others around the neighborhood. So I would like just to help the councilman and the mayor and the city engineer to either execute the plan we have in place or just work off of that plan and come up with some better ideas or some new ideas and just to knock it out. I think we can all take, kind of like divide and conquer and just, drive around the neighborhood and, take this section, take this section, take this section, and then work at it a little at a time. And at the end of probably a short term, I think you could probably knock it out. I think you can get it done. Thank you.
There, top priority? Yeah, so top priority. So I need to group this together. So my top priority would be not to increase the tax rate on my citizens while accomplishing the things that we need to accomplish. Repairing of the roads, drainage. Pretty soon, and I don't know exactly when this will be ready, we'll be able to tap into a drainage study that's being done by the county right now. We'll be able to look and kind of see what do we need to do with our drainage. I think our drainage has greatly improved over the last 5 years, okay? Because it was really, really, really bad out here. So if I had to say what's my number one priority, I want to accomplish everything that is as concerns of my citizens without raising the tax rate. I want to tap into the new housing that we have in here. I want to use that increased tax revenue. But my priority, and the first thing I'll say before every budget workshop season starts, I do not want to raise taxes on my citizens. I want to lower that tax rate.
I like to go back to something about what we said a while ago, when we go into the 2, 3, 5, 10 years. One of the things we're going to have to do, and very seriously do, is the drainage, like the mayor says. If we don't get that drainage straightened out, there's no reason to build any more houses out here, because everybody's going to get flooded. We don't want our homes to be flooded. Venus Ditch, it needs to be cleaned out because it brings water from the back of the subdivision and it clogs up down here. That brush and everything in it is like a dam. So, and the I understand there are a couple of railway cars in there that acts like a dam. So wood branch is flowing into it from the backside. So we need to do something. We need to get some grant money. We need to get Tim, our city manager, to work on our grants to get some money to do that. I mean, that's not a cheap thing to go down through there. But I think and once we get our drainage plan, we can grow even better. We can see what's growing, coming out of Houston. Look at that side of the freeway. We got Valley Ranch. 5 years ago, there wasn't much at Valley Ranch. Look at it now. They're building apartments, everything else. Those people are going to start looking for houses down the road. They're going to look for places like us. We have a great police force, great security out here. So where do we want to look at living? Do we want to live in some place that it takes an hour to get a police officer out here, or 5 minutes? And that's where we're at. You know, our police force is growing. Chief's done a good job at keeping that going. But we got to get our drainage so we get the developers in here to build new homes, to invite these people. That will increase our tax rate. Now, that's one thing we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is another variant of code enforcement. I know I asked code enforcement earlier, but this one's a small variant to that. Do you believe code enforcement helps maintain property values? It's a question for all candidates. Do you believe code enforcement helps maintain property values?
Jerry Reasoner?
I can't keep my mouth shut. I've heard a couple of people say they want to do away with code enforcement. Actually, code enforcement does nothing more than enforce the various laws that the city has in place to make sure that this doesn't turn into a King's Colony or someplace. And I don't want to cast dispersions, if you would, but that's the only place I've ever had to put my truck into four-wheel drive to go to a garage sale. And that's, you know, they're trying to improve that out there. So I can't say anything bad about them. But we do not want to get into the position where as you drive down the street, it looks like somebody's moved in tents and 4 or 5 old cars. That's the only way we're going to maintain our property values, is by keeping the neighborhood nice and neat. And yeah, I'm guilty. I don't get my lawn mowed as much, and my ditch is steep enough. For the last time I tried to climb down into it, I fell and like to not got out of it. So now I hired the kid across the street to do my edging for me. And so, but yeah, we need code enforcement. We have a new code enforcement officer, and welcome to the city. We appreciate you. And as long as we maintain the standards that we have in place now, I think we'll do good. If we let it go downhill, it won't be so good. Thank you.
Okay. So now this brings us to the mayoral position, correct? Almost done.
Well, there's more questions for after this.
Great. So our first candidate is Beth Greco. Beth, come on up. Introduce yourself. 3 minutes, young lady.
Okay. I'm Beth Greco, and I'm running for mayor of Roman Forest. And I don't do well with crowds, so I have a prepared speech. The reason I'm running in this race is because there's a lack of communication from the city. Questions are asked, but no answers or comments are forthcoming. We haven't seen a plan for the future of the city. We see growth, but no plan. We haven't seen or heard any plans for a water flow study or a retention pond. I've spoken to Jeff Johnson, the county engineer, and he says that we should get our city engineer to do a study for culverts and a retention pond. Someone asked me where the land would come from for the retention pond. The city has 10 acres that was donated to us many years ago, so we should look at that space for the pond. Let's get our city engineer in here and see how much it would cost to put culverts down Roman Forest Boulevard, Parthenon, and Appian Way to the proposed retention pond. Why hasn't this study been done yet? Hurricane Harvey was 6 years ago. What are we waiting for? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is releasing an updated drainage report for our area called Atlas 14. All the county commissioners will be reviewing this information, and I will work with our county commissioner, Matt Gray, and others to see how we can use this information to help us. There's no plan in the maintenance of the roads, the mowing of the city right-of-ways, medians, and tree pruning. The city needs more than 3 people on the maintenance crew if they are to take care of these things. I will allocate more funds to the maintenance department and hire more employees to hire an outside service for the maintenance of these items, and leave the city crew to take care of upkeep and repair of the city infrastructure, including streets, pool, splash pad, park, and buildings. They will also maintain and repair city-owned vehicles, equipment, and machinery. My opponent, Chris, great guy, says he has lowered the taxes for the past 6 years. In 2017, the city property taxes were raised from 0.4945 to 0.7385. That's 2.5 points higher in 1 year. As our homes increased in value, the city taxes were reduced a mere 0.1331 points in 6 years. Right now, the city does not seem to plan ahead. They are playing catch-up all the time. If you elect me as mayor, I will work with city council, county commissioners, our Texas House Representative, Ernest Bales, our Texas Senate Representative, our national congressman, our state senators, and residents of Roman Forest to discuss and implement plans for a better city. I will speak to the schools and to stay in the loop as far as roads and other issues they may have. I will stay informed about our water companies to assist them or assist residents if there are any issues. The city doesn't control these entities, but we can help guide the residents to solutions. Internet service has been bad for as long as I've lived here, without any solutions from the city leadership. As mayor, my main 4 goals are: number 1, safety. That means effective police visibility, educate residents on how to stay safe, emergency plans for disasters, and fire department plans for evacuation. Number 2, city communication. This includes the monthly city hall meetings, and we will create a mayor inbox for the residents to write to the mayor, make a phone call available for the residents to call the mayor. I will have a podcast every month to update you on projects, and we will create a resident board for our residents that have expertise in water engineering, construction, grant writing, etc. Number 3, infrastructure. Study water flow as it relates to neighborhood flooding, a roadmap for continual road improvement projects, map maintenance projects as it relates to mowing and tree maintenance. Number 4, flood plans, which I have discussed. I will have clinics and workshops at City Hall to help first-time homeowners, newly retired residents, mother-to-mother help groups, and any other ideas you might think of. I believe that higher level conversations should be fostered and encouraged because they will result in whole solutions. I will be a good steward to our tax dollars. You will find me at City Hall every day. I will personally answer every email and phone call. Thank you very much.
Chris Parr, folks.
All right. Get serious. Thank you, Beth. So, well, once again, I'm Chris Parr, Mayor of the City of Roman Forest. You know, I've been sitting here, I look around the room, and I see old friends. I see a lot of longtime residents, and I see a lot of new faces. And so, but it's nice to see everyone come out and get involved with your local government. Thank you, Hank, Mr. Hank, for hosting this.
No problem.
Okay. So, I ran for city council back in 1998 because I wanted to get involved in my community. You know, I wanted to make sure that the city I lived in was a safe place to raise a family. I wanted to make sure that, I wanted to ensure that the city maintained its look and feel that is Roman Forest, that small town that Fallon alluded to, that feel. And I also wanted to ensure that our property values didn't decrease, okay? So I ran for city council, 1998 was elected. I served with a lot of council people. I served with 2 mayors. I think we accomplished a lot of things. I think that we were going in the right direction. I think maybe we were on the wrong track, but we did accomplish some things. So I became mayor of this city in 2015. During my administration, I worked with council to create the city administrator position. I did this because I believe that a paid mayor, it was not the right choice for our city. I wanted to keep our mayor and council as is volunteers. So we created the city administrator position. Also during the last 8 years, we have taken on, planned, and completed 2 major road projects, 2 major drainage projects, Section 1, Section 2. We annexed Section 4, and through my relationship with Commissioner Gray, we were able to get that boulevard paved from Appian Way all the way to the new fire station, and striped. And also through the negotiations and the agreements with that developer, we were able to keep that look and feel of Roman Forest through that new section. Okay, so we had a lot of meetings to accomplish that. Also, and yes, we did. We have lowered the tax rate every year for 5 years in a row. The M&O rate has came down every single year, and I do have the numbers for that. We created an emergency fund, an emergency reserve fund for the city, and now we have built that reserve fund up to $340,000. That's something that didn't exist prior to 2015 within this city, so I'm very proud of that. So currently we are working on a lot of talk about permitting. So currently we are working and looking, council, we are looking at the permitting process. The permitting process is necessary. Are the permit fees too expensive? Perhaps they are. Is the response from our third-party inspection companies sometimes too slow? Yes, absolutely it is. So that's some of the things that we are looking at, and we are going to change. We may be working with our partner city to maybe share a position, to co-op a position between the 2 cities, to actually be able to hire our own inspector that's not a third-party inspector. So that's something. So we are meeting and talking about those things. Councilman Pardon actually had, him and I had a conversation here a couple of days ago. He's got some great ideas of how to raise money for our city parks, for city equipment. I want to do something with Hubbard Park. That piece of property was donated to the city, and I really think we need to take advantage of that space and make it a nice park for our residents. And that's something that I may even have a conversation with Commissioner Gray about, maybe getting some heavy equipment in there to get that ground back flat and usable again. So that's something that I'll have a conversation with him. I went through this earlier about the growth in and around our city. You know, we are putting a long-term plan together for that. You can't plan for every challenge on the horizon, but I'm going to tell you, Tim Underwood, his background is in creating these studies and these plans, and I think he's really taken my input and council's input on this, and he's really putting together a good roadmap for our city moving forward. You know, I believe that I am the best person to take the city through this process, okay, because of my relationships within the county, and I'm not going to name all of them. Some of them are here tonight, some of them I've got them in my phone, because of my long relationships I've had with other leaders in the county. That makes me believe that I am truly that person, and my long experience, my many years that I've served on city council. I think that, I believe that makes me the best person to move us forward. Thank you all for being here. I'm Chris Parr. I'm asking you for your vote so that I can continue to be your mayor. Sorry, I will let her go first then.
All right. Make sure there's no repeat ones. Yeah, I got it. 1, 2, 3, 6 questions. I think one of them's a big one. All right. Question number 1, Fort Deuce is mayor-specific questions. There are 6 of them, but I believe one of them's a duplicate, and I wasn't able to glance at it and find it. But how are we going to end the contract with Optimum so another provider can come in here?
Well,
Beth Greco?
well, I don't know how we're going to end the contract with Optimum, but I'm sure that we can figure out something fairly quickly. I don't know all the ins and outs because I'm not the mayor right now, but I'm sure that we can figure that out. We have Tachus that might want to come in. We have Comcast that might want to come in. We just have to look at our options and see.
Thank you. Mayor Carr?
So the city, currently we are under no contract with Optimum. So if we want to make them leave the city and their service is bad, we cancel their service at each one of our homes. We did have negotiations with Mr. Older from Tachus. That's been a couple of years back. The proposal they brought to the city was not good for the city. Was not fair to the city. We were going to have to pay for fiber internet connection, service to every home, whether that resident took that service or not, and that's not something that I was wanting to pursue. I do understand that they have approached the city now. I think maybe Tim Underwood has had a couple of preliminary meetings with them to maybe to get that conversation going again. Maybe they've got a better offer for us. So that's all I need to say about that.
Thanks, sir.
All right. What can be done, like what can be or is being done about Section 4 drainage?
Mayor Carr?
Okay, so Section 4, we all know where that's at. So the city has not taken in maintenance.
Roman Forest Estates.
Roman Forest. Yeah, the city has not taken in the maintenance on most of that, those ditches, those drainage areas. So there is negotiations now between the builder, the R. Horton, the developer, the development company, the city, and one of the mud districts. And we are going to, we're talking about getting those problems corrected before the city accepts those ditches into our maintenance schedule. Yeah. What was the rest of the question? Was that it?
It's in front of you. I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have something. So Roma Forest Estates, great new growth, but there was no plan. There should have been curbs, culverts for the drainage, but none of that was done. They just were left to build it. So now, Mayor Parr is negotiating when negotiations should have happened prior. So that's a good plan. I hope it gets done.
All right. What options would you use to get outside funding for city parks and resources?
Go ahead, Beth.
I left the question in front of me.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think grant writing would be a great way to get additional funding for parks and resources. We could use county, we can go to the county. We can also go to the big foundations. Say, for example, the Kellogg Foundation. And there's hundreds of foundations out there that we can write letters to that I'm sure would be happy to fund us, as well as Wood Branch and Patton Village. So I think we can accomplish it that way.
Mr. Parr?
So, this brings me back, so now I can kind of elaborate on what Councilman Parton and I talked about. So, yes, grants are an excellent option. I'm going to tell you what another option is. You know, MCID has been a great partner to this city. And I personally know a couple of MCID board members that I'm in contact with all the time. You know, the splash pad is there at our park because of MCID. And so that's definitely an avenue we can go to for park equipment. Local businesses. I have talked to some of the local business owners that would be more than willing and happy to actually provide some park benches, maybe some contributions for some park equipment. And so Councilman Parton and I were talking about, he's got a great idea about a memorial brick. You know, you've seen it down at the ball field. So a resident can purchase this paver, this brick, and for whatever price. And when we sell enough of these bricks, then we have that area of concrete, the sidewalk down by the memorial. We can have that area taken out and those pavers put in there nice. And that way that person, that resident, whether it's a memorial to maybe someone they've lost, maybe it's just a saying, maybe it's just their family name, but that'll be there for years and years to come. I think that's a great idea to be able to raise money for park equipment.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, and so that's, and like I said, Beth had a great point. Grants are always a great idea to look at and apply for as many of them as we can. So yeah, absolutely.
Oh, here's my duplicate question. Are there any ideas for parking fundraising? So I want to set that one aside because that was just all right. What is your position on the growth of the city and potential zoning? How will growth impact drainage and potential for flooding in both new developments and existing? So it's asking about the growth and the potential zoning, and also how will the growth impact the potential flooding?
Beth, go ahead.
Okay,
Beth Greco?
ladies first.
Yes.
You gentlemen. Okay. What is my position on the growth of the city and potential zoning? I'm all for zoning. I've always been for zoning. If we have zoning, we won't have to worry about liquor stores coming in. Other things in commercial areas that we can control that. And how will growth impact the draining and potential of flooding? I think I kind of addressed that. We need to get on that. That Hubbard Park that you were talking about, that's the exact area that I was thinking would be great retention pond. So culverts, mapping of the flooding, and getting a handle on it. We can do this. We can make our city flood-free, practically, if we put our minds to it. And I think that's the most important thing.
Mayor Parr?
So, also a big fan of zoning. I wish that zoning would have been done many, many years back. Any new construction that happens in the city offsets wherever it's constructed, it offsets where water would normally drain to and set. So any new development needs to be during the permitting, that we talk about the permitting process, that's when the drainage needs to be looked at to make sure that what they're building, if it does need retention, does it need additional size culverts to take the water away from it so that it doesn't flood the neighbor beside it. All those things have to be looked at up front. So some of the questions about do we need the permitting and the inspections, there's a good example right there of why we do need the permitting and the inspections, because we need to make sure that this person building this house or this building is not offsetting that water and flooding one of the older homes in here. Because let's face it, the homes that were built in the 70s in here set very low. So any new construction that comes around them absolutely does affect them. Let's see, what else was there? Potential zoning. So we are, and we have been discussing and looking at zoning. I did not realize how much there is to the actual zoning of something. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am not the expert on that, but I know that I know that Tim Underwood has done a lot of research, and he is looking at a lot of different ways that we can shape, regulate, and possibly even restrict some of the things that we don't want in the city. I think that's all I have.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
All right. Well, the last one is actually kind of a repeat. If anybody wants to tackle it again, but how do you propose to improve drainage in section 4?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's been asked, so that's the last question.
Okay. So folks, again, thank you for coming out. Make intelligent choices at the voting box. It's important. It's the only way we can ensure that our quality of life will always increase and America will stay true to it. So have a safe trip home, and thanks for coming in.
You did good on the question.